Good evening. Welcome. I am Misty Lane, best-selling author, speaker, and your host of the Dare to Share with Misty Lane show. I am excited to have you here tonight. Our guest is going to be dropping so much value. And what the heck is rock yoga anyway? Like, that definitely captured my attention, right? So we're going to learn all about that. But first, we're going to just get some housekeeping stuff out of the way. I'm going to ask that you go ahead and click that share button. You never know who may need to hear this message. Maybe something Brian, our wonderful guest Brian Tarr, is going to have to say, or something that I might share that could just relate with someone in their life that's going on and help them a little bit. So go ahead and hit that share button, share it out to your groups, your family, and your friends. Also, I invite you to leave comments. If you're watching from our Facebook platform, I will see your comments and you can interact and ask the guests questions as well. So drop your questions in the comments. Also, please let me know where you're watching from. Drop that in the comments as well. And one more thing, I ask you to go to my Facebook page and join the private group. It's called #BeThatOne. You guys, this is a movement. This is a transparency movement because I believe that transparency is a game changer in the world. #BeThatOne encourages people to step up and share their raw, authentic truth, so that we can educate each other. We can learn from each other's experiences, good and bad, that we're honest about it so that we can all tap into that emotion and know that we're not alone in our adversity. And then by doing that, we can learn to judge less and mentor more. I think it's important in the world. I think it's going to change the world. And I just invite you to jump on into that group and let's support each other as a community. We're going to be doing some writing skills. I'm going to be offering some free workshops coming up soon. I'm getting that all put together now. I don't have exact dates, but it's coming. I promise it's coming. If I can outrun all the hurricanes and tropical storms that keep blasting Southeast Texas and Southwest Louisiana, a quick update for you. Those of you that are on that keep asking is my parents are safe. My son is safe. They were displaced from their homes. Things are not back to 100 yet in Lake Charles, Louisiana, but everyone is safe. We just got a lot of rebuilding to do. That town is no longer the same town. So there's a lot of rebuilding to do. So also be that one and step up and support your neighbor. Find the people around you that may need something that you can offer them. If it's not even just an ear, let them vent to you or something. So I ask that you do that. Okay, well, we've stalled long enough, okay? So now it's time that we bring our guest on. I want you to welcome our guest, Mr. Brian Tarr. Hi, Brian.
Hey!
Hi.
I'm so excited to be here today.
I'm excited. We've been chatting for a while. I think I met you through this show, didn't I? You stumbled
I think I caught your show and it caught my attention. And I was like, well, what? And I asked a question and we dove deeper. Then we got to know each other a little better and the similarities. And I love that. And first off, I'm so glad your family is safe. That's just a huge blessing. That's a huge blessing.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah, everyone's safe. We're just weathering the storm that's coming right now. That's the thing.
Isn't that true? We are all weathering the storm right now.
And on the West Coast, you know, their storm is fire. If we could take some of our water that's being dumped on us and go extinguish their fire, it'd be a perfect world, wouldn't it?
Oh, I'm here in San Diego, so we're getting from north, we're getting some of the smoke that comes down. It's clear today, but for a while the air quality is bad, and so the fires are just taking everything by storm. Oh, there's Mary. Hey, Mary.
Hey, Mary. Hey, and Robert Brooker, one of my super fans. I just want to thank you, Robert, for being here. He's watching from the checkout line at the grocery store. That's a dedicated fan right there.
Rockstar, right? Rockstar Robert.
Thank you, Robert. He's watching all the way from Canada also.
Oh, awesome.
Hi, Miss Wanda Reynolds. She's one of our sponsors of the show. Thank you so much. Biloxi, Mississippi.
Well,
all right.
Mississippi. Woo!
Mike McConaughey. I'm not sure. I don't see. He's not commenting. He must be just secretly watching over there.
Awesome.
All right, Brian.
Good to see you, Mary.
We're going to start the show. It's an unscripted show. I like to just have banter, go back and forth. I like for the audience to be involved. But I like to also start the show by giving you a chance to shine for about 2 or 3 minutes. I want you just to talk to the audience and tell us the things you're most proud of in your life, your biggest accomplishments. Not your life story, just a quick, this is my most proud moments, and then after that, we're going to talk about what it took to get those proud moments, because not everything's cupcakes and unicorns and rainbows, right? There's adversity that happens before the frosting, right?
There's got to be the adversity, because that's where we grow. I think some of the greatest accomplishments in my life, as I'm thinking about it, was one of my clients wanted my help taking their business from scatter to scale, so much so that they said, I'm down here in Costa Rica and the time zone difference is just too much. You're on a plane on Friday, which came down to Costa Rica, worked with them in Costa Rica, had an amazing adventure. That came about from service. Another really thing I'm very, very proud of was here in San Diego, there's a rescue mission. And I just showed up wanting to help out. And I got to mentor a young man who was addicted to drugs and his life had just gone downhill. And through mentoring for about 4 or 6 months, he locked in a pattern that he's now repeating the rest of his life, and he has a job.
Wow.
So I'm super proud of that. Super proud that I've had the courage to do the hard work to build my business, and my business is beginning to grow even in this pandemic. And I've got some amazing relationships. I'm starting to hike more often and travel more often to get to know the outdoors. So super proud about that. Super proud that I'm guided and guarded every day divinely.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I know it's a great feeling when you personally can see the product of helping someone get through a hard time. I think that's really what helped pull me up from my story, is when I learned the value of giving. I never understood it, and it never came to fruition with me because I hadn't actually done it. But when I learned that when I give to others and use my pain and not waste it to help them, that's the most rewarding thing in the world. And I just, I'm glad that you've experienced that, Brian. That's awesome.
Yeah, deeply, deeply. I'm on a different subject. Just the other night in my men's group, which I go to every week, an amazing men's group at the church, and we always are uncovering more ways for our walk just to be closer. One of the men is going through a difficult situation, and I said, "Do you have somebody to talk to?" He says, "Yeah, I do." I said, "Well, let me ask you again. Do you have somebody that you can really just call anytime and says, 'I see you'?" He says, "No, I don't." So I gave him my number. You can call me anytime. And he said, "Okay, that's good." I said, "Well, let me explain. I accept the responsibility of being available to you." He said, "What do you mean?" "I understand that there's a responsibility of being available to you and being there for you. I accept that." He looked at me. He said, "I needed that." I said, "You're welcome." So it's just, I'm glad that I was able to do that. I understand how important it is when we give somebody and support them and are willing to accept the responsibility to be a good reflection for them. It's a beautiful thing. It's a ripple of kindness, I guess.
It is a ripple of kindness. And a lot of people don't understand also, they feel as if they're burdening the person. And it was explained to me once that if you deny someone that offers their help to you, you're denying them of a blessing. And so when I thought of it that way, it made more sense. And so now when people offer their help, I'm more inclined to take it because I don't want to deny their blessings.
Yeah. Beautiful. Well said.
Yeah. Thank you. Okay, well, we're going to jump into your story. I would like to let the audience hear a little bit about, you talk about with me a little bit about your struggle because you went through a really long, pain, agonizing divorce. But before that, you shared with me about your father passing at an early age. So I want you to start right there and just kind of walk us through it.
Sure.
We're going to just kind of take some pauses and breaks and be able to ask some questions in between. But just kind of start right there with your dad passing when you were a really small child.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Misty. I love following your lead. And open the kimono goes, right? This is Brian Tarr. I had the kind of relationship. My mom says my dad, he was my best buddy. It was Jimmy, the boys, and then mom. And she was okay with that. And so it was a beautiful relationship. And then he was riding to work on a bike, and a drunk driver crossed over the lanes and he died on impact. So in a moment, my best friend was ripped out of my life. And that began to ripple just through years because I didn't have a father growing up, didn't really have stepdads that were a leader. So I had to kind of figure things out on my own. I guess maybe that's where I got that from. And my mom did the best that she could. And she's just a saint of raising 2 boys and her daughter all by herself. And so that continued through many years. Everybody can imagine some stepfathers were great. Some of them were not so great. Some of them, there were some traumatic situations that happened through that. And I think to lead into where that affected me, I think I always grew up trying to be the right person, right? I wanted to be the best son. I guess people started calling me the little man. I was the oldest in my family. So it was kind of my responsibility to take care of mom. I wanted to be the greatest son, be the greatest student, be the greatest employee, be the greatest business owner. Tried to do that for a while. Then I got married. Wasn't really at the time, I thought I was in love, but I wanted to be the best husband. And so I grew up trying to be the best of everything. Look at Brian. Look at how wonderful Brian's doing. I'm working hard. I'm doing all these things. So look at how great I am, because I guess I believed that if I became what everybody else cherished, then that would make me a wonderful person. So yeah, that's a cool picture of me when I was with the family in Texas. That was my personality. Brian, outgoing, the little man of the house. Yeah, that's what they called me, the little man. I guess because I could literally walk under a table. But I had this look on my face. My mom reminded me, this just came to mind. We were looking at curtains, and she said, Brian, which one should I choose? Just to include me. And I said, well, let me look. And I walked back and I said, okay, Mom, look at that curtain over there. And she looked at it. I said, okay, Mom, look at that curtain over there. And she did. I said, okay, you want that one because you had a big smile on your face and that made you happier. That, I guess, where they got the little man from.
Oh, yeah.
And so I, as a little man, watched over my sister, watched over my brother, wanted to be the right person. And that's why I formed my life. And then when I realized that things began to crash, I lost my job. I had a really good corporate job, and there was a thing called technical espionage. I didn't even know what that was. It's where they make it. Yeah, I'm like, what? This can't be a thing. And it was. They make up technology that doesn't exist. So those people that won't admit that it doesn't exist get kicked out.
What the heck?
Yeah. And I went to HR and I said, can you believe it? The purpose of it was the good old boys school. If you didn't play with the good old boys and the way the good old boys did, they found a way to get you out of there. This was a Fortune 500 company. And there was a lot of people that owned planes and homes that couldn't afford it on their salary. Something was going on.
That reminds me of that. I'm sorry to interrupt you, but that reminds me of that movie Divergent. It's like almost like they're sculpting out the divergent, the people that don't follow along, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that was like one of the crashes, because I went to HR and I said, can you believe this? And I had a great relationship with the business owners because I created solutions for them. And they said, yeah, we needed to talk to you. About what? We have a letter that says that you're causing more problems than you're solving.
Oh my God.
We can't tell you that. But yeah, we're going to need to let you go for a couple weeks. Like, what? And so that caused a psychological breakdown. And longer story for another time, that psychological breakdown, I was rescued when I found an Auschwitz survivor and a therapist that helped me to get better at that. But losing that job started. Then I had a business partner, and I thought we were best friends. And then he began to take over the company. And then all of a sudden I thought we had a great marriage. And then I'm realizing that we're not a match, and counseling and classes and all this stuff trying to get together, and it wasn't working at all. And I said, this isn't working. We need to end it. And her response was, well, if you would just go back to who you were, because I don't like who you're becoming.
Wow.
And I went to a counselor and I said, what am I going to do? And he looked at me and he said, Brian, you're already done, aren't you? Like, yeah, then you need to be a man and tell her. I thought that would fix things. What is the saying? A hell hath no fury like a woman scorned.
Yeah.
So that set up a 7-year battle for my life. I lost 3 jobs because of I lost 3 jobs when the prosecutor was able to put in a seed of doubt into my employer. That was crazy. I didn't know that could happen. I didn't know.
Hang on.
Yeah.
So isn't that what is that called? Oh, not harassment, but what's that? Slander? Isn't that slander? Isn't there legal action you could? So
Oh,
this is
yeah.
an attorney that
Yeah.
knows the slander is illegal, slandering you on your job.
Because Brian can't afford to hire an attorney to come after him for the slander. He knew it. Yeah. I mean, think of what's building up in me, because I go to my employer and they said, Brian, are you moonlighting? I'm like, why would I moonlight? Well, apparently this so-and-so person called us and said he could actually provide proof you were moonlighting. I'm like, what? No. And I said, okay, don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. Damage had already been done. Doubt set in, fear set in. We're just going to have to let you go, Brian. And that happened 3 times. Plus, I didn't understand how broken the legal system was.
Mm-hmm.
And he found perversion is the truth twisted. So
Ooh, I like that.
Truth, yeah, he found truth and twisted it, and twisted it in court. One of my attorneys said, how did he even come up with that? I didn't even know that existed. So I went through all kinds of attorneys, battling for my life. I think, looking back, that was a gift. I learned how to fight for me. I really didn't know how to fight for me, but that taught me how to fight for Brian Tarr and fight for my life. So that was 7 years of that, in and out of court. I learned so much legal precedents that I was asked 3 times to become a lawyer.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, of all that I went through. So 2016, I was fighting for my life. I went through family court, appellate court, federal court, and Supreme Court for what they were going after me for.
Oh my
on
God.
my own. Yeah. And I thought that I did the best I could. I thought I proved to them I learned my lesson, and I did what they asked me to. And so I went before another court trial, and I said, Your Honor, you wanted to make a case. You wanted to
make an example. Make an example out of you. Yeah.
Thank you. Wanted to make an example out, and you did. I did what you said I did wrong, and I did it really well for 5 months. And he said, yeah, but I asked you to do this other thing. I said, it was public service. Like, I couldn't do public service and have a job to do this. But I paid spousal support. I did show you what I wanted to do. And I thought it was good. And the judge said, well, let me back up a little bit. Before that, I was fighting, and I asked for 2 of my constitutional rights. I said, I have the right to another judge. And the judge goes, no, you don't. Nothing you can do. I'm on my own. Wait, I have a right to a jury. I have a right to a jury. No, you don't. And I'm on my own in the courtroom. He said, I'm going to treat you just like an attorney. Here we go.
Because you didn't have an attorney. You didn't have a public defender or anything?
Looking back, I believe that the prosecutor and the judge were familiar.
Oh, of course. Yeah.
There was just too much. And so cards stacked against me. So I'm fighting for my life. And so in that final thing, when he asked me, did you do what I told you to do, Brian? And I said, well, I couldn't because I was busy doing what you said. You were making an example out of me. He said, I understand. And then he said the words, you'll never forget in your life when, he says, bailiff remand him into custody and cold steel is put on your hands behind your back.
Then they're done.
Yeah, I've never been in jail before. And that started 30 days of absolute hell. People don't understand how dark it is in there. And I'm an intuitive person, so I'm feeling it, was worried for my life. Yeah. You know all that stuff. And that does happen to you. Yeah.
I'm going to stop right there. Okay. Brian, you're such a bright joy coming, your aura is so bright, and you're spunky and you're feisty.
Thank you.
This is the Dare to Share show. Okay. We're going to have to just slow down. We're going to have to backtrack a little bit. And we're going to have to really get down and dirty here and try to figure this out. All right. So off to jail you go. That's fine and dandy, but we got to go back and figure out what went so wrong in this divorce that caused you to act in a way that would put you in jail. Let's talk about some of this, because there are real people watching this show that do real life shit. And they need to know that, the world isn't a fair place, and this can happen to you too. So let's talk about your actions and what you would do differently about those actions today.
Okay. What you're down below, perversion.
Yes.
There are broken systems in the world. And if you're outside of the broken systems, you're lucky. But like oil on you, if you get near those broken systems, it gets on you and you're affected by it. Case in point, I wasn't able to completely pay spousal support because of my income, and I did my best. He took that fact and twisted it and said, Your Honor, Brian Tarr intentionally is not going to pay spousal support. And I heard him say he intends not to pay spousal support. Like, are you insane? And the judge said, I didn't have an attorney. And the judge said, do you have a defense against that? I didn't even know that was coming up. And I was without any kind of defense.
Well, I mean, in honesty here, that does happen every day. I went through I've been through a few divorces, and actually my ex-husband flat out said, I'm not paying child support. And he never did. He never paid a single penny of the $32,000 he owed me. Not a single penny. I raised those two girls by myself. So people do get ugly. People do say things when they're hurt, So even if you had said that, you're human, right? So what?
Well, and you made a good point. There are times in life when forces stronger than we are come at us, and you do not have a defense.
Right.
Something that I realized was I found out really quick who were my friends.
Yeah.
I found out really, really quick who were my champions, because I started to ask around, this is what I'm going through. Can you help me? And I got, well, if you give me this huge retainer, I said, that's not what I asked you. Thank you very much. Goodbye. And so I found my champions right away, even the people that helped me to fight for myself.
Right.
I think that's one of the things I learned, is to find champions that I trust and that believe, so I could show up crying, going, I am at my wit's end. I think I'm just going to give up. And they're like, hey, no, you're not. Brian Tarr, you're going to fight for yourself. Right. And they believe more in you than you do.
Wow.
Yep. And to your point, Misty, there will be surprises in our lives. People stronger, people more malicious and diabolical. I think I found out who I was made of. You can't change this. You cannot change who I am and what I'm connected to. And I think through all of it, my faith was made stronger by my trials, because I didn't die.
You didn't die. You lived through it. You survived. But looking back, I want to know what you would do differently. How would you handle that? What would you do differently?
Looking back at what started all of this, I would have not been so arrogant to think that I knew the right answer for my life and ignore the people who loved me. My mom stopped talking to me for 2 years after I got married. She was so upset.
Wow.
She knew the mistake I was making. And God bless her for she started communicating, even though now I know in her heart of hearts, her son made a huge mistake.
Yeah, but as parents, that's hard. We always think we know best for our kids. We always try to shine on them what we see. But, we're not always right either. So it's kind of hard. I also feel, Brian, that, whatever choice you made as a grown adult, parents should also respect your choice, and not make your life hell either just because you don't agree with them.
True. But in this case, looking back, I was defiant. No, I know I'm in love. No, I know this is the right. No, everything you're telling me, no, I know better. And I know better. And now my mom stops talking to me. And I'm like, fine, you can stop talking to me because I know what I'm doing. I was very arrogant.
I tell you, when I married my drug dealer who was extremely physically abusive, and my parents and my kids and everybody around me were like, what the hell are you doing? I get what you're saying. But you don't think that tension early on from your parent, your mom not getting along with her, not approving, didn't cause some of the problems in the marriage? You don't think that was part of it?
Oh, no.
Okay.
No, the whole marriage was,
It was
I
already.
own the responsibility. The whole problem with the marriage and how it went and how she became dependent and how she became addicted to pain medicine.
Oh yeah.
I now take all responsibility.
Yeah.
I was hateful. Yes, you're right, Robert. I had to learn. I
Mm-hmm.
had to learn. And at first I was hateful. I was angry. I hated, but working through that, I understand. I now know a different answer that I would tell you, Misty. I would not change a thing.
Yeah.
If I could go back, I wouldn't change a single thing because everything I went through made me who the Brian Tarr I am today.
I agree with that statement, but I mean, wouldn't, okay, so let me rephrase the question.
Sure.
If you couldn't change it, what advice would you give someone going through it today? Would you say, hire a lawyer, sell everything you have and get representation? I mean, what would you say to that person that's going through it today? Because I mean, before you answer, let me just say, I know it gets ugly. It is malicious. I
Number
see.
one, on that, capture that.
Okay.
You don't know how a human being will turn on you. You think they're a deer or a cute little animal, and the skin comes up, and that's a scorpion.
Oh
You do
yeah.
not know what the human condition will do and pivot, and how evil they will get, how twisted they will get, how bent on revenge. You don't know.
Oh yeah. I've seen people use their kids as pawns and they won't even let them see their kids if they don't buy them the Gucci purse they want or whatever it is. You know, I've watched it. It's horrible. It's
Yeah.
vindictive. It's all vindictive. So what advice would you give to the viewers out there that might be going through a similar situation? Since you can't go back and change and you don't want to go back and change, what advice would you give them today?
Number one, strengthen your faith.
Good one. Good one.
Strengthen your faith immediately. What are you doing to remind yourself every day that you're loved, that you're listened to, and that you're important? Because what you're about to go through is going to put that to the fire. As I believe in my studies of what I believe in, the three men went in the fire and they weren't burned at all. You're about to go through fire, and the thing that will keep you is your faith and the people that you surround yourself with.
Absolutely.
Looking back, I was completely transparent and authentic, and I opened up to this person. No, not a match. I'm going to open up to this person. Nope, not a match. I'm like, really? Come on.
Is there somebody out there for me?
Right. And then I opened up this person, and I was just sharing, and that was the attorney who said, "That's wrong." I said, "I know." He said, "Can I defend you?" I'm like, "You don't understand. I don't have money." He said, "I didn't ask for that. What they're doing is wrong, Brian, and I will not stand for that."
Good.
So I quickly found out who my champ. I build, number one, faith. Surround yourself with people stronger than you are, because you're going to break down. You will be breaking down, and you need somebody that to pick you up and go up. And yeah, Sam asks, yeah, I've done a lot of Ho'oponopono, and so I've actually transmuted beyond forgiveness to empathy. Ho'oponopono is a practice of, I forgive you, please forgive me, I'm sorry, I love you. And to be honest, Misty, I was like, I forgive you, please forgive me, I'm sorry, I love you. B-I-T-C-H. And I was like, that didn't work. So I had to do it again and again until, honestly, I forgave. Real short, I forgave her, I forgave me. Then I just had nothing but empathy.
Yeah.
Hope it goes well.
Well, I'm glad you said that, because that's part of my platform with the whole transparency thing, is that forgiving yourself is one of the biggest pieces of the puzzle. It truly was for me. When, September 18th just passed, and that's my big monumental day that I killed someone in a car wreck. And so consequently, fast forward, it's the same day my first grandbaby was born disabled, and she's since passed away in January. So that's a big day for me. And part of that, me ever growing and getting rid of any of that toxic shame and guilt, was looking myself in the mirror and forgiving myself. Taking accountability and culpability for the parts of it that were my fault, and then forgiving myself for it, because you have to realize we're not perfect people. None of us.
And like Sam was pointing out, it more than just I've forgiven her, I forgive her. I realized that forgiveness wasn't a Band-Aid I put on when I'm bleeding, but now it's a practice almost every week. I have a forgiveness practice.
That's great.
And it's part of my well-being.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, thank you for sharing. All right, Brian. Well, we're at that point of the show where I'm going to ask you, we're going to do a quick sponsor commercial break, but I'm going to ask you to be thinking about a time in your life, maybe one of your darkest moments, maybe something you've never shared before. Just really tap into your emotions. This is a vulnerable time that I want you to share with the audience so that we can learn from you, because that's what it's all about. It's about learning from each other. I'm going to go to break. And when I come back, I'm going to ask you to share that moment. And then we're going to talk about how that moment maybe has played a part in pivoting your life and how it's helped you maybe see things differently moving forward. Okay?
Yeah, you got it.
All right. Let's take a quick word from our sponsors, and then we'll be right back. Awesome. Thank you. Today's show is sponsored by Simple Changes from Wanda Reynolds. Make a simple change today for a healthier tomorrow with products like Simply Satisfy, which aids in gut digestion and curbs your appetite. Mental wellness is directly related to gut health, so keep a happy gut with Simply Satisfy. Then there's Simply Soothe. It helps relax your sore muscles and it supports your overall joint health. Simply Start is made from 100% organic hemp oil. It promotes your calmness, supports sleep, and maintains healthy joints. Contact Wanda Reynolds today through Facebook Messenger or at scdso.com/live life wonderfully. Health provides simple solutions to whole body health. To get and stay healthy, we offer Somaderm HGH Gel. Would you like to sleep like a baby and wake up rested? Do you want to feel maximum benefits from physical exercise? Do you want to burn through that afternoon slump with energy to last well into the night? Well, you can. And you may also experience 25 other whole body improvements with the gel. It's effective, safe, FDA registered, and very affordable. Diane has immuno boosters and keto support products too. Contact Diane Chasik at lifesmilehealth.com or text lifestyle to 64600 today. Awesome. I just ask that you go and support our sponsors, look into their products, and help support them as they support this platform. All right, Brian, here we go. It's time for you to share with us that moment of truth here so we can learn from you and grow with you.
I was thinking about that. And your question was, what was one of the darkest times I had that was one of the biggest shifts in my life to where I am? Right?
How it played a role, yes.
Okay. So I'm thinking back, that has to be 2016. And that's when it began. All my life I was protected. All of my life I was taken care of. There was always somebody who could come and rescue me, or somebody who was come and help me. That was always a part of my life. But in the moment where somebody made a decision about my life that I had no control over, and I was put into a humiliating situation immediately, to where I was talking about that, what prosecuting attorney, he looked at me, and excuse the vulgarity, but he looked at me when the decision was made to remand me into custody, and he went, "Oh shit." He didn't even anticipate that. And I was taken away from everything. It's almost like pulled into a tunnel.
Yeah.
To where, I began to just more scared than I ever been in my life. And then I was put into the situation for 12 hours, getting shifted around, where there was just a violence at every point, and finally put into the cell where during the shift, I could talk to somebody, I could make a phone call. But once I was put into the main cell, I could not hear another human's voice that recognized me as a human being. That does something to you.
It does.
That scares you. You are now completely alone. There is nobody who knows you or recognizes you or that you can talk to. and you are utterly alone in a very bad situation. And
scared.
Pardon me?
And scared.
Now I know what scared to death is.
Yeah.
Because when the door slams shut and I'm in with two people that I don't even know, that I don't know what's going to happen, I started to hear voices. And I've never heard voices before in my life. And that just put me into a panic. And I was like, I'm going to die here. I'm going to die here. My brain is going to eat itself and I'm going to die. And I anchored onto the sound of the ocean again and again and again and again and again until I heard the door open. And I survived. I didn't die. But I didn't know what was before me. And so I was absolutely, absolutely panicked that I didn't know what was going to happen to me. I couldn't talk to anybody that knew me. And through just grace and circumstances, I was in a conversation. I actually went to church on a Sunday, and I was very thankful just to get out of there for a little bit. But I talked to another gentleman, big guy, and he says, so saw you in church. What's up with you? I'm like, I'm thinking, oh God, this is going to go bad. What have I got to lose? I said, I just believe that I have a strong relationship with God. And he said, I respect that. He's like, what are you doing here? And I told him what I was doing here. And he's like, no, come on, don't bullshit me. What are you doing here? And I told him, he says, you don't belong here. And never forget that. You don't belong here.
Same words. Yep.
Why are you here? And he said, you need to move. You don't move in jail cells. So he wrote a note, handed to the guard, and the guard nodded at him. And he said, okay, you're moving up with me. And I'm like, how did that even happen? And evidently he was well known, and we ended up having a great relationship. And on the third day of being in there, my name was called, and I was being sent out. Now, I thought I was okay, but now I'm being shipped off again to God knows where.
New people all over again.
Huh? Pardon me?
You start over with people that don't know you again. The guards don't know you. They don't know anything about you. It's horrible.
I'm on a bus. People I don't know, chained to the seat. And you're hearing horror stories of this and horror stories of that. And, oh, you're a white guy. Well, let me tell you about the woods. Let me tell you about the rules. Let me tell you about what you better do. And I'm scared for my life. And I'm like, wow, I'm in for a world of violence. And I'm just scared to death of what's going to happen. And it does something to your brain that I didn't understand. And finally, everybody got shipped off to one place, and I was put on a bus with a few other people. And by the grace of God, I was sent to a place with a rehabilitation center after you go through the deeper jail. But something had already started in my brain.
Right.
And I didn't understand it. And there's rules that you got to abide by. And they make you get on the phone so that they hear what your conviction is. And so immediately I was in harm's way. I had to play the game. I do that. And the deputies are not there to protect you. They're playing their own game. So you're in an environment where every single thing is about you, and you can't go outside except once a day. And one of the people took me in. This is how bad it got. And they convinced me to stop saying to people that my name is Brian. I need to have a jail name.
Yeah. Yeah. My jail name was Feisty.
Right. And I believed it. And I told, when my parents visited, I said, don't call me Brian anymore. I said, they call me Avatar in here because my last name's Tar. That's who you need to report into. Right. Looking back, I'm like, how stupid was that? But I believed with all my heart, I had to do this to survive. I changed who I was.
You have to
try and survive. Well, that's what I thought.
That's what I had to do.
And so I'm thinking that I'm having to change who I am, let go of who I am. I'm in the middle of losing my shit. I am in the process of my brain going just downward. I didn't even know where I was going. And that guy got shipped out, and I was on my own.
Right.
And I believe something came over me and says, I got your back. I got your back. Just be who you are. And I think on that day, what came to me was, I'm in it, but I'm not of it.
Right.
Misty, that became my anchor for my sanity.
Mm-hmm.
Every day I woke up, and there are these guys in the bunk, and there are these deputies, and this is an environment. You don't know what's going to happen, and you better play the game right. I couldn't even trust the food. Because it had been tainted with hormones to keep the men down. So right. But I was reminded, I'm in it, but not of it. And I would walk the yard again and again and again, and repeating that until my sanity came back. And that's when I realized that everything had been ripped away from my life so that I was paying attention to one voice. I did not do anything to redeem me from that situation. It was greater than me. It was greater than who I was. And I remember just breaking down, going, why do I have to go through this? What did I do? This isn't fair. This isn't right. This isn't okay. Why are you doing this to me? And I was mad and angry. And the answer I got back was, you're not listening to me. I needed to strip away everything in your life because I have work for you to do. Are you listening to me now? There is nothing in this world, Brian, but you and me. I've got work for you to do. And that's when I felt redemption. That's when I felt the deepest moment of surrender. And that's the moment, and I don't remember when it happened, but I remember the moment of, all right. Where do you want me to go? What do you want me to do? Starting now. Do you want me to walk to the left in the yard? Do you want me to walk to the right in the yard? Where do you want me to walk to the left? Okay, I'll walk to the left. All right. What, you want me to talk to that person? Okay, I'll talk to that person. I don't know what to say. Okay, how do you want me to go to sleep? And what do you want me to do while I'm here? And I heard write everything. So I began to journal everything I went through. And every day my life was, what do you want me to do? Where do you want me to go? Repeatedly. And that became the pattern of my life. I know nothing else other than I wake up. Where do you want me to go? What do you want me to do? And I listen without question. That, I think, was the pivotal thing in my life. I mean, we listen, but then, are you sure? Are you sure you want to do that? Are you sure you want me to go there? And it's now there's the listen and go. Yeah. In Brian's life, there's a listen and the go.
You have to be taught. You have to train yourself to listen, because there's things all around us every day, but we don't stop long enough to be receptive to them. We're not quiet long enough to be receptive to them.
No.
Yeah, I understand that. And going back to you talking about the jail thing, I was in and out of jail several times. And when I got sentenced to prison for that vehicular homicide, which became negligent homicide charge, accidental death, I was petrified of prison. I thought, oh my gosh, this is, they're going to just do all kinds of things. Because I was told constantly, you don't fit in. My problem was I didn't fit into jail. I was educated. I was white girl. Most people in there, look down and, oh, you're spoiled, rich girl, just trying to get attention. I had to prove that I smoked drugs by showing calluses and burn marks on my fingers. I mean, it was that bad for me. And I didn't fit in with my friends because I had been to jail. I felt like I didn't belong anywhere. But to be honest with you, prison was like a big daycare compared to jail. Jail is the hardest time you do. Prison is easy because in prison, everybody knows what they're doing. They know how long they're there for. They've gotten comfortable. They've made a way. People are in and out of jail so fast that there's all kinds of personalities. They're high. There's drugs everywhere. Jail was the hardest time I ever did.
Well, and for people that don't understand, because we've been there, people do not understand that structure because it's intentional. You are not meant to understand the structure that goes on in there. It is intentionally hidden. Yeah. Intentionally. There is a structure from the deputies down. So what Mistie's talking about is a rehabilitation bunker system to where the inmates that are there know if we mess up, our privileges are going to get taken away. So we need to be good. And
Yeah.
even though the deputies come in and turn our bunks upside down and to play games with us, we got to be good. That's that system. But then when you go into a longer term sentence, like a year or more, you're in an environment where you live or you die according to the leader. You are told what to do. If you're of an age, you fight because your race fights. And if you don't, then you are beaten up on. And, and you're in a environment that is mastered and managed by violence.
Yeah.
And it is contained, and it is designed to break you so you stay broken and you come back. Even in jail, the system is designed to break you so you are broken and you come back.
That's right.
That's what it's designed to do. And
I always tell people it's I think what sets people apart is what each of us do on the other side of it. On the other side, after we've survived it, not just jail, but just adversity in general, after we've survived it, we've come through it in authority. Now, what are we going to do with it? I think that's what sets us apart. And that's where I want to shift this, because we're just running out of time very quickly. I want to shift this now because I want to talk about how you've used it to shift your life and how you've created personal free time to go hiking and hang out at resorts on hammocks and play with the dogs and all the fun stuff you do. So I want to talk real quickly about how you managed to create how you got out of that mindset and found personal value, I guess is what I'm trying to get to.
I had a course in chaplaincy training for crisis intervention. And what they teach you is in trauma, there's trauma education. Outside of trauma, you're not going to go back to the life you knew, because trauma at the core is we don't have the tool sets to deal with that. So a new tool set is needed. I wanted to anchor into that. And your life is not going to go back to what it is before. So my trauma education was what you had before, Brian, is gone. Gone.
Yep.
You need a new set of tool sets and you need to figure it out. So the first thing I did was learn about trust. And I learned how to create trust, how to ask for trust, and how to know that I was in a trusted relationship. And it wasn't like a permission slip. Okay, I can trust you now, we're good. I had to keep the trust around people. So that's immediately what I gathered. I returned back to rock yoga, which was, in short, a method that I learned to balance stones that you've seen, not just stack, but balance them, and they look like they're going to fall, but they don't. And it was a creative expression, and I taught it to other people. And by teaching it to other people, like that picture there, there's the base stone, there's the second one, which most people can balance, there's the third one. But in between that third and fourth, that's when stuff falls. When you're breathing and you find the balance and it stays when it shouldn't, whole thing goes on inside your body. It's pretty phenomenal, and it shifts every single human being. I began to teach that. I began to teach that to others. So that was a tool I had of teaching other people and giving to other people something amazing that came out of my life years ago. So I started teaching more of that. And I found out I was a teacher, a new tool set. I had the ability to teach people.
Wow. Okay.
I didn't understand that at all. I denied that. There's a coach, but there's a difference between a coach and a teacher.
Yeah.
And so I admitted that I was a teacher, another tool set. I started to greatly service people. I began to ask them, what's your challenge? I think I can help you with that. And in my life, I began to balance the stones for other people in their business. I knew how to put them together, and I knew how to make them work with technology so that they stayed balanced and they served their business better. And the more I served, the more I knew who I served. So then my another tool set was massive service. That began to create who I am. The second thing was to find a mentor that I could trust. And I began to seek out. Yeah.
Who is your mentor?
I had a mentor, a coaching program that I was part of in San Diego back, I think, in 2017. And I learned leadership through that. And that worked for a while. And then it's funny, Misty, because I thought I needed people to raise me up. So I kept looking for that next person to raise me up. But somebody said, Brian, you're at that level. Now you need people who will help push you up.
Yeah.
And I think that happened in 2018, that I realized I had reached a level of knowing who I am and having my gift to where I didn't need somebody's permission to be great.
Or validation. You need the validation.
Yes. And so I practiced, and I served a lot of people. I made a lot of mistakes, but I knew I couldn't go back to a job because there were just consequences. Too much had gone on. I was concerned about a lot of things. So life said, you need to own your own economy. And so then in 2020, I made the decision, things have to change. Not just the good idea, but like the Viking cry, we are going to take this hill or we'll die trying. I finally felt that completely here this year and said, my life is going to turn around. It has to this year. And I now have the great coaching ability from Molly Mahoney. And she has been one of the best coaches I've ever had, helped me out in personal situations that were beyond just the coaching in the business environment. And I applied myself 100%. That's really what made the difference.
Yeah. That's the key. Because, I mean, I'm one of those people that buy those I fall for those programs. Grant Cardone got me real good. And then I never even watched the stupid things. Not the stupid things. I shouldn't say they're great tools. I just never made the time to watch them. So I've got all these things sitting in my email that I've never even applied myself to. So, I mean, it's about stepping up. Also, how bad do you want it? It's making it a must-have, right?
You remind me. I said, I've got a lot of offers from coaches. I've got a lot of coaches that said I'm the answer to their program. And I don't really care to hear that anymore. Here's my challenge. Here's where I'm at. Here's what's scaring me. If you can help me, I will stay committed to your program. I will do my part if you do your part, and I'm going to let you know